us this morning. Give God some praise. Our music department really blessed us today, and we should thank God for that. So St. Luke chapter 4, you read the first 14 through the 30 verses. I'm just going to read a few verses, kind of wake y'all memory up. The Lord's Gospel is recorded by St. Luke chapter 4. I'm going to start this time at verse 14. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went out a fame of him through all the region round about. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. He came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, he hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord." I'll stop there. I want to talk for a few minutes from the subject, an alive anointing. An alive anointing.
Preach God.
An alive anointing. It's almost getting repetitious, because if you're anointed, you ought to be alive. But God's anointing brings life. God's anointing not only empowers me to do that I could not do, but it wakes up that which was dormant in me prior to my being anointed. He tells Jeremiah, before you was in your mother's womb, I called you. I'd already picked on you. I selected you before you were born. This idea of this anointing is, I said before, is something that God does. And it's a one-time thing. It's not a matter of God having to send anointing every Sunday. When God anoints you, whatever he does a good job of it. And we have here in this particular passage, Jesus, in his customary actions, sharing with us a particular moment of anointing, but at the same time, he gives for us a pattern, and he gives us hope. For there is a connection, even though it's Jesus, there's a connection to each of us. What he does and what he did applies to what we are and what we are doing and what we will do. Will you pray with me? Mm-hmm. The first thing I focus on is this fulfilled followers. Fulfilled followers. Real followers of Jesus are anointed as he was anointed. It's right there in the text. He says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel. Mm-hmm. See, the Spirit, he says, is upon me because he has anointed me. But he didn't start in verse 18. He was over there in verse 14. It says, and Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. Uh-huh. And then his fame went out. He is led by the Spirit. The Gospels tells us when he had just been baptized into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. Luke is the only one who tells us about the Nazarene experience, but Luke kind of crushes it all together. He makes you think he leaves from the wilderness into Galilee for a minute and then to Nazareth. Some of the other Gospels tell us about the healing that was taking place in Galilee, but then in between the Spirit leading him into the wilderness, the Bible says here, the Spirit leads him into Galilee, and then the Spirit leads him to Nazareth. Oh, I wish I had it with me. All I'm trying to say is that we can't really be who God calls us to be until we are willing to be led by the Spirit.
Yeah.
A lot of us, we think this thing is about our gifts. We think this thing is about our talent. We think it's about what we can do. But it's not really what it should be unless the Spirit is in charge.
That's right.
It's not because you can sing good. It's because the Spirit inspires your singing.
Yes.
See, I know everybody has a gift. That's not the question. The question is, are you using your gift to the glory of God?
Yeah.
Sister, get to the pen for me, baby. I need you to help me out. Sister Tuck, if you don't mind. I can't do it. I would get Crystal to do it, but then you think that's the way she really plays. I want you to get a chord. Pick any chord you want to pick, your favorite chord. Just wherever your fingers are, I want you to hit it about 10 times in a row. I want you. Same chord. That don't make your sister. Don't think you make me so sweet. I don't care what they say. You're already with me. Now that sounds kind of ridiculous. There was the church I was raised in, Brother Clint, we had a lady would visit us twice a year, every year, and that's the way she played. And see, for some people, you would think that's funny. But she played that and she was serious as all get out. Now, I was supposed to sing while she was doing that. Because I don't care what song. They had a variety of songs they would sing. But they sung those songs to the same chord. Y'all not listening to me. Twice a year, but they'd come to our church and they sit there. At first, children would sing. But you know what? It was Reverend. I can't think of the name. He's an old man. He couldn't get a lot of people to come. He always had children. He basically was raising children. They cried come about 20, 30 children sometimes. Living in the church, but always had these children. And the children wouldn't stay, because as soon as they got old enough, they would be ashamed to sing in that choir. They'd go to somebody else's church. But most of the children who left out of his choir to sing in somebody else's church was leading in the other church's choir. I heard it tell my dad in the study, I think God has called me to train children for other people. So he didn't have a big crowd. I said all that say is, I was driving in the day, and I was thinking about my mama when she would sing, and mama had this loud voice. And she would sing she was just as loud as all get out. And she would play, she'd been playing for a child. And she would sing so loud, she was not anybody else in the choir, but she was just willing. She was willing. She could, whenever it came time to teach a song, had no problem teaching the song because she was going to sing it loud anyway. She'd teach the parts. But then when it came to sing, do a church, she's going to sing loud. I heard, now he and other professionals, see y'all raising all these people, y'all take for granted these talents. I wasn't raising all stuff like that. My mama could play well, but she could read, but she also could play by ear. So anybody could start singing, she gonna catch it. Before they got 2 notes, she gonna catch it. Now everybody, wasn't like that. So we understood we had a gifted musician, even though she had to be my mama, but we had these other ones who would come in who were lesser musicians, but we wouldn't sit around laughing at them. Because they were winning. They weren't trying to put on a show. They knew they weren't the best, but they were winning. They weren't able to play from some churches, but they weren't trying to play for some churches. They were playing where they were. They were doing what they were able to do because they used what God had given them. There were singers who, they knew they didn't have a Mahalia Jackson voice, but they were willing to use the voice that God had given them in order to glorify the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
And do you know that God can bring tears to your eyes while somebody's praying like that?
Yes, Lord.
Do you know the Spirit can touch you when people are singing off key, but they're singing to the glory of God, and they're letting go It's the first Sunday in the choir supposed to sing. I'm singing because God called me. I'm not only my voice because my mama called me up, but I'm here because God called me up. I'm here because I feel like the Spirit of the Lord has anointed me to do what I'm doing. He's anointed. I tell you, whatever you do in church, you ought to know that God called you to it.
Oh, yeah.
See, when you call yourself, you might stop anytime you don't feel like it. When you call yourself, folk can not appreciate you and you'll stop doing what you're doing. But when God calls you,
Yes, Lord.
He'll make a difference.
Yes, He will.
God tells a great preacher in my younger years, young preacher was asking him, what do you think about these modern preachers? He was weighing old and about to leave here. And God the Taylor said, it appears to me that the younger pulpit is more horizontally focused. Y'all missed this, y'all missed this. More horizontally focused. He was talking in terms of the cross. You see, if we're about the cross, there's a vertical part to the cross, and there's a horizontal. And real ministry has both. Don't go back as though you're in touch with God and you're not touching people. But don't get so caught up in touching folk, you forget to get your marching orders from the Lord.
Yeah, right.
We're going through a period where churches and preachers were so focused on making people feel good, trying to focus on a positive gospel. They forgot what God told them to say.
Come on now.
That was Jeremiah's problem. He said, my problem is you won't give me a good sermon like you get other folk. When I get through preaching, they mad at me. When they get through preaching, they glad with them. They want to give them money. They want to give them big positions. They want to take care of them. They want to run me out of town. Why don't you give me some of that? You see, Jeremiah found out it was more important to please God than to please people.
Yeah.
And I told you last week, pleasing God can get you in trouble.
Yeah. Say it.
Pleasing God can get you messed up.
Yes.
But when you're vertically focused,
Yes, Lord.
when you're in touch with the Lord, you got to worry about reaching out to the folk, because there's no way you're going to listen to God and He not direct you to minister to the world. He empowers us to serve others. He empowers us to minister to others. He empowers us to meet needs. He doesn't empower us so we can brag about how good we are. We can brag about how powerful we are. He empowers us so we can be a blessing to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm all Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, blind boy, is singing ever since he was big enough to sing. Can play instruments. I first heard him, he was playing a harmonica. And we were raised listening to Stevie Wonder. And I call myself listening to secular music. And I was listening to Stevie. Stevie had it. But Crystal, I found out I had no clue to the depth of Stevie Wonder until I picked up an album cover where they had the lyrics to his songs. And I dare say 95% of the folk were dancing to Stevie Wonder's music that had no clue to what he was singing about.
That's right.
Most of his songs, and not all of them, but the difference were divinely inspired. Most of his songs I could take and preach on any Sunday, any church, and shout to church. He wasn't just trying to say something to make people swing and dance and shake them behind. He had some in-depth messages that had to come from God.
Yeah.
They were scripturally based. Look at it. Tell me now, most of these folks are shaking the music, they don't even know what they're you please come back? And when the man was interviewed, I heard him interviewed on the radio, they said, what happened to the lady that you were singing about? He said, oh, that was the lady, that was my dog. And for years, people thought this was a love song to his woman who left him, and he was talking about his dog that got lost. I'm trying to tell you that the gifts are not always the gifts. The gift has to do with the inspiring of the gifts. When Reed Flake died, and the preacher, I can call his name, he preached, and he said something I had a problem with. He says, love is not the most powerful force in the world. I wish I had witness here. He was saying one of the preachers called respect. R-E-S-P. He's trying to, sometimes you get kind of carried away before you step off foot. But he was this, I don't want to call his name, but a well-known minister, but it wasn't until after the sermon, Stevie Wonder, supposed to be a secular musician, but Steve is the one who said, no, I believe that love is the most powerful force on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I wish I had a witness.
Yes, it is.
That's confirmation. Stephen, my man, he's not listening to what he thinks folk want to hear. He's talking about what the Lord said. Yes. You do know that love is the most powerful force. I know that because God is. I wish I had a witness. I'm trying to tell you, don't get caught up in what you can do. Ask yourself, what motivates you to do what you can do? Are you filled with the Spirit when you pray? Are you filled with the Spirit when you sing the choir? Are you filled with the Spirit when you're on your instrument? Are you filled with the Spirit when you're in your uniform? Are you filled with the Spirit when you're at the door? Are you filled with the Spirit when you're sitting in the pew? Has God's Spirit led you? Do you feel His presence? Do you feel His power when you're in worship?
Yeah.
I don't know if I see fulfilled followers, but I see the folds. I see the folds. For Jesus would have us to know that, if you are a child of God, you're going to have some friends, followers, but you're going to have some foes.
Well.
There are some people who are against you.
Yes.
He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me.
Yes.
And He gives you the ministries right there. I wish I had taken time. He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And I'll deal with that in detail. But He says, when He read it, the people were furious.
Yeah.
They were upset with Him. Why were they upset? Here's Jesus, hometown boy. Here's Jesus. They already heard about He had done miracles in Galilee, and now He's come to Nazareth. What's the big deal? What's the problem? Why are you so upset with Him? Well, when He preached, He says, this sermon is fulfilled in your hearing. Wow.
Yeah.
And one thing about those kind of people, you understand it, they understood God. And as soon as they heard it, they knew exactly what He was reading. You see, in the synagogue, it wasn't necessarily a preacher. They'd have sometimes visiting rabbis or even visiting persons. And Jesus would consider one of these visiting speakers. He comes and they give him a scroll to read. It's not like a Bible.